Welcome to Abstract Illusions Radio with host Jennifer Hillman. The show explores and reveals the human potential through creativity. So enjoy the show to create a life you love.
Hello, this is Jennifer Hillman, and thank you so much for tuning in to Abstract Illusions Radio. Today's beautiful guest is Cynthia M. Ruiz, who is a professor, an author, an inspirational speaker, and a leader expert. She has received over 50 accolades and awards for her leadership and service to Los Angeles. She currently serves as Los Angeles City Commissioner, overseeing a multi-billion-dollar pension portfolio for the city employees. Cynthia has over 20 years experience in teaching and public speaking. She is an author of 2 books, Cherokee Wisdom, 12 Lessons of Becoming a Powerful Leader, and Finding Sane Relationships in a Crazy World. Cynthia Ruiz comes from a blended culture of Latino and Native American. She enjoys the passion for life and appreciates the gifts of Mother Nature. Thank you so much for joining us, Cynthia. It is really an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show today. Thank you so much for being with us today, Cynthia. It is such an honor and a pleasure to have you on air.
Well, Jen, I just want to say thank you and thank you for all the amazing, great work that you do and for being a positive voice in the world.
You are as well in many, many ways. And as soon as I saw about your book, I knew you had to be on the show because there's so many people coming into becoming a powerful leader right now and coming into their power. And this is just a great book to really show them some ways to really appreciate the power within them.
Well, thank you for that, and I appreciate this opportunity because I do believe that each and every one of us possesses leadership ability. So it's really about tuning into that and figuring out what our individual leadership style is. And that's what I've tried to share in the book, Cherokee Wisdom, 12 Lessons to Becoming a Powerful Leader.
So can you tell us a little bit about some of the leaders that you admire from your family history?
Absolutely. So I actually come from dual cultures. My dad was Mexican, and I say was because he has made his transition. And my mom's Native American Cherokee. So my mom's side are Cherokee. We're registered members of the Cherokee Nation. My grandmother was actually born on the reservation. And so what I've done in this book is tapped into my native roots and really almost kind of channel the ancestors to really come up with a simple message and a way that people can understand. The book is a very easy read, and I've gotten a lot of positive feedback from men saying, thank you for making it short, quick, and to the point. We love it. So I am just very blessed to share this Cherokee wisdom that I have in my culture.
Tell us more about the different styles of leadership that you mention in the book.
Well, traditionally, leadership is nothing new. I actually am a professor and I teach leadership at the graduate level. So historically, leadership is nothing new. But in the past, leadership was almost very authoritarian, do what I say. And some of the past leaders, if you look in history, have been almost dictators, or some of them were dictators. So as we move forward, we're going through a transformation and developing more into what I call transformational leadership. And transformational leadership is when you take everybody into consideration and empower people, help people rise versus just do what I say. So in the book, what I've tried to do is share 12 lessons to becoming a powerful leader. And these lessons are based on my Cherokee ancestry. And these are 12 attributes of leadership that we value and acknowledge. For example, one of my favorites is integrity. When you're a leader, it's so important to have integrity. And the way we define integrity is doing the right thing no matter if anybody else is looking or not. Because at the end of the day, even though, I mean, it's easy to do the right thing when people are looking, but when nobody's looking and you are making decisions, the creator or God or whatever term you want to use is there with you. So doing the right thing and acting with integrity is so important in my opinion.
Yes, it's and you have to be with integrity with yourself especially. Otherwise, you're just going it stays with you if you're not being true to yourself within being a leader, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And you did ask me about some of the leaders that I admire in my background. And
Yes.
so I'm seventh generation Cherokee. And in my ancestry, we had somebody named George Lowry, which was his English name because he also had a Native American name. And he was born in the 1770s, and he was one of the leaders in the nation. He was very close to Sequoyah, and Sequoyah was the person that developed the Cherokee alphabet. So I like to say that, I like to think anyway, that I have leadership in my blood. I also admire somebody that I wasn't related to, but Wilma Mankiller. Wilma Mankiller was the first and actually only woman to be elected as chief of the Cherokee Nation. So there's a lot of people in the Cherokee Nation and in history that I really admire, and they really exemplified the 12 attributes of leadership that I talk about in my book, which are the 12 lessons for becoming a powerful leader.
So do you think we need all those wisdoms to be a powerful leader?
Well, I don't know if you need all of them because the truth of the matter is, I believe that leadership is not an exact science because human behavior is not an exact science. We're all unique individuals. We come to this earth and then we all have different experiences and everybody has their own journey. So because everybody's different, leaders are different, groups are different, for example, as I mentioned, I'm a professor and I can teach the same material, but each class is different because they're group dynamics. So, what I like to think is that people can take this information and use what resonates with them and develop their own individual leadership style. So, do you have to use all 12 of them? Not necessarily, but I share what works for me. And one of the things that I think many, many people forget about, especially leadership in this country right now, is humility. Be humble. Being humble and being a leader are not mutually exclusive. Some of the best leaders are very humble. For example, in my opinion, President Obama is an excellent example of how he's strong but yet humble at the same time. So, humility is such an important factor when it comes to leadership, but we forget about it a lot.
Another quality or, well, another wisdom you share within the book, which I think is critical for a leader, is to be responsible. What do you think?
And it doesn't have to, when we think of leadership, we think of political leaders, we think of top executives at corporations. But the truth of the matter is that each and every one of us are leaders on a daily basis. We lead in our family, we lead at work, we lead in our social environment. We all have the ability to be powerful leaders. So it's not just something that's reserved for the top echelons. We are all leaders, so many times we lead by example. And in the book, I share a story where it kind of reminded me of that. I was actually in line in a fast food restaurant. Not that I eat really fast food very often, but it was a healthy fast food. And there was a gentleman in front of me, and he looked a little bit disheveled and looked like he could have been homeless. I mean, I don't know because I don't judge people. But he actually came up a few cents short or a little bit short on his money that he was going to pay for his meal. So he didn't have enough money. So I didn't even think twice about it. I took $1 out of my wallet and gave it to him so he can pay for his meal because obviously he looked kind of hungry. Well, what I didn't realize at the time, there was a mother and her young daughter in line behind me watching this, which I hadn't even noticed them. And the little girl turned around to her mom and said, "Mom, can I have $1?" After watching what I did So she took the dollar and gave it to the man and says, I hope this helps you. And the man, we all looked at each other because it kind of just happened so fast. And I realized, the man was so happy, she was so happy, we were all so happy. But I realized that, on a daily basis, people watch what you do and you could lead by example. So just, giving that nice, kindness to the gentleman, she saw what I did, so she repeated that and did it too, and it just warmed my heart.
Well, that's something that I've seen. I really feel that kindness kind of radiates outward. It's like even sharing a smile to someone who isn't smiling can brighten their life. It's just the tiniest little kindness can make a world of difference to someone.
And it's so important, especially in today's world where we're bombarded by negativity. If you want negativity, all you have to do is turn on the news and you see all this stuff. Well, but I believe what we don't see, and that's why your show is so important, what we don't see is all the love, kindness, compassion that's out there, and people share it in so many different ways.
Well, I'm doing my best to get it out there as best I can. So, how how do you think women can learn to be better leaders?
Well, I think if you look at women in leadership roles, I mean, it's nothing new in history. There have been historically women leaders for many, many years. You had Cleopatra, you had, so many different leaders. However, in the past, women felt that they had to take on the masculine qualities to become powerful leaders. So they turned into men almost, in figuratively speaking. But nowadays, what's happening is we're going through a paradigm shift, and the women's traditional traits are being celebrated. Our trait of inclusiveness, our trait of compassion, our trait of the greater good. Women lead by what's called social power, meaning that they take into consideration everyone, where men lead based on personal power. Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other, but as you see more and more women take leadership roles in the world, it's coming that we're more compassionate and we're more inclusive in leadership.
And it really is, it makes a difference in the quality of the situation if you, especially with compassion. Um, Harshness just doesn't work anymore. So not having that empathy and not understanding the impact you are having on someone else, it makes a difference.
Well, society dictates the leadership styles. And so what's happening, especially with the millennials are becoming more conscious in a lot of different ways. They're also looking at the way that they spend their money, and they're more socially conscious. So what's happening is a lot of the big corporations are being forced to be socially responsible. And many of them have community giving programs, and all those programs, that agenda is really being pushed by women.
Yes, it is. And it's awesome. How you mentioned more millennials becoming more aware and awake. Um, do you think that having a spiritual strength can help you and help you really incorporate more of these values that these wisdoms you have in leadership?
Yes. And for me, I believe that, as an individual, we need to take care of ourselves, we need to love ourselves, and taking care of ourselves is being healthy, eating healthy, exercise. But one key component that a lot of people forget is the spiritual side of you. And I have a spiritual practice. There's three things that I do every day. First thing I do when I wake up is I do my gratitude list, because starting out with that attitude of gratitude just brings so much positivity into my life. And then the second and third thing that I do is I pray and meditate. I like to say that prayer is talking to God and meditating is listening. So having that spiritual practice, it is part of who I am. So the decisions that I make as a leader, my actions are all based from my spiritual foundation. And I think that more and more young people are searching out for that. and they're getting away from traditional religions. And I'm not criticizing any religion because I think everybody needs to find out what works for them. But I feel with spirituality, I have a direct connection to the Creator or God. I use God and Creator, those terms interchangeably, but it's really having that connection with that universal power is so important to me.
So, what do you believe that, or do you feel that having that spiritual strength helps you with your mental strength and your emotional strength in helping you with being a good leader?
Yes. And in just in life, because nobody's perfect and we all have challenges. There's not one person that is challenge free. And the challenges come in different forms. Sometimes it's loss of a job. Sometimes it's loss of a loved one. There's all stresses, different kind of stresses that we have in our life. So with me having a spiritual foundation, what that allows me to do is take a look at that challenge and see what I'm supposed to learn. Or when I have people that have made their transition, I believe that they transition into the non physical world and I can still have a connection with them. So it really, that spirituality just helps me stay grounded and enjoy the present moment.
And I so agree with everything you just said. Um, One of the big things that I think kind of holds leadership qualities is the obstacles, the fear that people have of being seen or heard or misunderstood by their leadership qualities or by themselves. How do people get over that fear of asserting their leadership qualities, their leadership? What do you suggest?
Well, fear is a very powerful emotion. And unless you're actually in physical danger, most of the fear that we experience is all in our head, in our mind. There's fear of failure, there's fear of success, there's fear of not being liked, there's all this fear that we carry around. And so what I do is when I make decisions based on what I call value driven leadership. When I make decisions based on my core values, I'll never make a bad decision for me. Now, it doesn't mean everybody's going to be happy. When I was in a position where I was in charge of 5,000 people and making huge decisions on a daily basis, I knew if I made the decisions based on my core values and what was for the greater good, I could sleep at night. Now, sometimes people weren't happy about that, but, I was comfortable. And so when people experience fear, because we all do, all the simplest thing is just walk through it. I know that's easier said than done, but once you walk through the fear and get to the other side, you find out that the fear was, like I said, most of it was in your head. And so it just walk through that fear.
And it's very interesting to, even in having a fear, finding the positive qualities of that fear. Meaning, if you have a fear of success, well, that's you can have it to motivate you to prove that fear wrong.
Mm, I agree.
So I I really, you got to face it most definitely, but try and see the different perspectives you're putting on that. So I really am getting that. For me, I try and look at the different perspectives of that fear and why I had it come into my life in the first place. I have found through my own work that a lot of it is like past life stuff that I've just forward for, so I can work on that fear, so I can get through it because I haven't been able to in the past. So I just find that a lot of the obstacles, it's there, it becomes an obstacle because of the fear, but it's there so you can get through it, so you can walk through it and learn from it.
I agree, but it can also be experiences from your childhood.
Oh,
Somebody
yes.
told you you weren't good enough. somebody told you that you weren't able to do something. And then, as young people, everybody wants to fit in and be the same. But the reality, that's impossible because we're all different.
Yes. Yes, it comes with that compassion for yourself as well as other people. So, um, it's it's one of those things, as you said, we all have fears. It's just learning to adjust and move through them. Learn and keep moving. Can you tell? I know, as I said in my intro, I mentioned you did some work with some girls. Can you talk about that?
So I am a big believer of giving back to the community in different ways with time and resources. So I sit on the board of directors for an organization called Girls Today, Women Tomorrow, which is a leadership mentorship program for young Latinas in the inner city of Los Angeles. And so what I do with them is obviously I donate money to them, I work with them, spend time with them. But with this book, Cherokee Wisdom, 12 Lessons to Becoming a Powerful Leader, I'm actually going to donate a percentage of my royalties to this organization because I believe in turning around, helping people out, mentoring the young girls because I didn't have any mentors growing up, but I knew how difficult it was. So if I can turn around and help the next generation, not only does it help them, but it makes me feel good. And I really, really, it's a priority in my life.
And a beautiful thing that you're doing. Mentorship is just so important these days, personally, business wise, career wise, in every way, just to have somebody to have that support and saying, yes, you can do this. I'm standing next to you and I know you can do that. It makes a huge difference. And this book will help those girls so much in many ways. That alone is a huge support for all women and all people, actually. What do you want the readers to take away from this book?
So, what I would like the readers to take away is that they have the ability to be a powerful leader. They're going to need to figure out what leadership style works for them. But I want them to be open to the wisdom from my ancestors that I share so they can take that in and develop their own value driven leadership.
That's awesome. Now we're coming to the end. Believe it or not, it goes so fast. Where can the listeners buy your book?
Very easy. Just go to Amazon.com. And I would love to connect with your listeners. They can find me on my webpage, which is my name, Cynthia, Cynthia M, my middle initial, Ruiz, Ruiz.com, CynthiaMRuiz.com. From there, you can connect with me on all my social media, but I really recommend to go to my website. I have weekly blogs and great information. I would love to be able to connect with your listeners.
And I can talk. I can honestly say you do have some amazing information on your website, and highly recommend people go check you out on your website. Um, Cynthia, the book is wonderful. I thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule and being on air. I thank you so very much.
Thank you for the opportunity, Jen.
With each breath of air, we hope you gain insights, inspiration, and imagination. Till next time, this is Jennifer Hillman saying thank you again for listening to
Abstract Illusions Radio with host Jennifer Hillman.